Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, great for recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means share it with anybody that might get something out of it. Other than that, happy Saturday, everybody. How are you all today? Guys, what a good day. Before we get into the reading, I'm going to stop and just, talk about applying these spiritual principles in our lives, which is literally the reason I do these videos and which changed my life. I had a very, very busy day planned today, and at the end of the day yesterday, I had a little bit of anxiety because I didn't feel right about the first job that I was going to do, and I had some reservations about the second job that I had to do today. So when things aren't right in my life today, because I follow these principles to a T, and I communicate multiple times a day with my higher power, whom I just call God. It's amazing how I just like this sense of intuition or just sense of something not being in alignment. I was going to fix a heating system for a gentleman, and they'd had me look at it the other day, and something seemed off about the whole situation. The part I was putting in was like $300, and there's going to be a couple $100 in labor, and I knew that the heating system had further issues. So sure enough, I get there first thing this morning, and immediately upon getting there, I found evidence that they had been tampering with the system before and after my last visit. So before I even unboxed the $300 part, I did like literally 2 minutes worth of further inspection, just a matter of opening an inspection port, and I found all the water in the steam boiler had been leaking through a crack in the bottom of the boiler, which they clearly, or somebody, I'm not the homeowner, but somebody in the apartment clearly knew somebody staying there clearly knew about, and I was able to prove that. Now, my first thought was, oh, I hope this isn't a special order part, because it condemned the entire heating system, and obviously we're not going to put a $300 part into something that's going to go out the door. And it was not. I was able to go and return the $300 part. But further than that, the first thing I caught it, I called the owner, I let him know what I found. He offered to pay me my full rate for just coming out there. And I said, no, I gave him a huge discount for it and said, listen, let me know what you want to do. I know he has other contractors that work for him, and typically some of the bigger jobs, like a boiler install, he would have his guys do, and then pay me to come in and get the controls working when it's above their qualifications. And instead, he called me right back and he said, Pat, he goes, do me a favor and just price out the whole job for me. And we went back and forth a couple of times today, and by 10 o'clock this morning, I had sold a second boiler job, which I'll be doing on Monday. Again, this is a job where I make the highest pay that I make on anything that I do by a huge percentage. And it's great, just because, not only because I was upfront and honest and I was paying attention and did a good, thorough job, but the sense of intuition when I'm able to take extra steps because I feel when something's not right, because I'm just used to everything being so above board that I would have never caught in the past, and it just opens the door for so much more work. Now, the second job is I was going to look at a flat roof on a very big building here in Cambridge. Roofing is not my forte. I will do small roof repairs, but I'm not a roofer. And the building is owned by a 92-year-old friend of mine, my friend Doug's dad, who's getting a little old and cantankerous. And I love him to death. Mr. Dad's one of my favorite people. But his son, Doug, wanted me to immediately go in and condemn the roof because Doug wants him to... Doug was going by what another contractor had told him, and he wanted me to just basically back him up. And it's not what I do today. I mean, if it was legit, then by all means, I would play the bad guy and give him the bad news. I get over there, and much as the 92-year-old half-senile man suspected, the roofer that had gone over and taken a video had flabbed the whole thing. It was all bullshit. Basically, it was a 30-foot section of flashing attached to the only flat part of the roof. All the screws had rotted out, so the wind was lifting the whole rubber roof up. Wind was getting under it, and he showed a video of it flapping in the breeze, showing how dangerous it was. Not only was that, it was, but it was not because the roof needed to be replaced. It was because a 30-foot section of it needed to be screwed back into the side of the house. I ended up doing the job. I did the job in about 45 minutes. I made $500 doing it, and this guy was trying to charge him $50,000 for a new roof, right? And even Doug was thrilled that I caught it and took care of it. Guys, just do the right thing. And it's amazing today, and treat people the right way. And that's what we're going to get into with the reading today, guys. It's called Principles Before Personalities. Principles before personalities. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions, ever reminding us to put principles before personalities. Principles before personalities. Many of us chanted these words along with the reader whenever the 12 traditions are read. The fact that these words have become a cliche of sorts doesn't make them any less important, either in service or in our lives. These words are an affirmation. We listen to our conscience and do what's right no matter who is involved. And that principle serves as one of the cornerstones of recovery as well as one of our traditions. Now, what does principles before personalities really mean? Well, it means we practice honesty, humility, compassion, tolerance, and patience with everyone, whether we like them or not. Putting principles before personalities teaches us to treat everyone equally. The 12th step, asks us to apply these principles in all our affairs. The 12th tradition suggests we apply them to our relationships with everybody. Practicing principles doesn't stop with our friends or when we leave a meeting. They are for every day for everyone in all areas of our lives. Excuse me, I'm having a hard time with that last paragraph. The affirmation is just for today. I will listen to my conscience and do what's right. My focus will be on principles, not people's personalities. And guys, this is first of all, I love the fact that because I'm chairing my meeting, I can actually say the word anonymity. I had more problems with that word. I could not say it. I used to laugh at myself, and I was a little concerned how I was going to chair my meeting, knowing I had to read it 3 or 4 times every week. And there you go. Once again, practice, guys. Do anything enough and it just becomes comfortable, right? Just got to pay attention. Anyway, that's just a side note. I almost didn't do this particular reading because, A, I stay away from stuff that's too reading or cliche specific. But second, I was completely misrepresenting. I had always read that statement to just mean you don't air somebody else's dirty laundry that you hear in a meeting outside of a meeting, which, first of all, is incredibly important, guys. And I'm going to stop and dwell on that for a second, because you don't do that, okay? That's incredible. You got to realize, like, we go into these meetings and, we share openly and honestly about ourselves. People go in there. You don't know what somebody's situation is. You might know somebody. There might be somebody you have background history with. You might hear something that may shock you. You need to be able to know that you're safe speaking in a meeting, so does everybody else. So anything you hear in a meeting, you'll hear me say all the time on the channel when I'm talking about different generic stories or sharing something that somebody shared with me. I don't put people's names out there. I don't put people's business out there. I will share things generically with absolutely no background as a side note or something, but it's very important that people feel safe in a meeting, and you never want to be the person that betrays somebody else's anonymity, guys. That's very important. Yeah, I've seen it happen so many times, particularly when I was in a halfway house, because people were just doing it for the just the gossip part of it, not realizing the damage you do to somebody. And that's a very dangerous thing, guys. I've seen people get taken out and do terrible things or have terrible things happen to them because the anonymity was broken in a meeting. It's an incredibly dangerous thing. Now, that is that. The reason I was so happy after I read through this, and I actually spent a little extra time going over this because I understood now there's so much more to that than I initially thought. It's literally, as the reading goes on to say, it's about treating people better in all your affairs. And that's something I've learned to do, and not perfectly by any means, guys. This is still something I struggle with, and I'm still working on, all the time. Like, I gotta be honest, I go down to my doctor's office down at Mass and Cass, BMC, Methadone Mile, the worst neighborhood in Boston. And a lot of times I'm good because I shouldn't say a lot of times I'm good, but I'm very quick to identify and understand the suffering of some of these people. So I tend to be, I'm not overly generous, but there's a certain select few people I always give a couple dollars to. And in the past, I would be, hard on certain people because they reminded me of myself, and I didn't want to give them the same courtesy that I would for others. And I realized that that's not a good thing at all. Like and mostly because, guys, when I was out there myself, not many people. I was one of the harder looking homeless. Like I wasn't somebody that people felt comfortable giving money to. People typically when I was on the streets, people just stayed away from me. I don't know. I can't tell what it is. I can't tell you what anybody else's thought is, but I can tell you one thing: they weren't warm and inviting to me. They were the way they were with some others, and I it is what it is. But I noticed that I had a tendency to be harder on people that I identified with myself because people had always been harder on me, and I've made conscious efforts to be more inviting to those people, and it's made a big difference, guys. I can't tell you how many times my initial shutdown reaction and put my hackles up and get ready to ignore and head down and just not give any leeway to this person. And now, because of this program, because of this of applying these things to my life, I stop and I give them an ear. Now, again, 90% of the times it goes right into the scam for money and sell me this and take advantage of that. And I love the fact that I have enough experience that I can have a little bit of a conversation with somebody without putting myself in danger. And you've got to be very careful, guys, particularly if it comes to a lot of the scams come out with like they'll ask to borrow your cell phone or different things along those lines. And that's an absolute no, because people will grab your phone and run down the street if you hand it over to them. Or just got to be very careful that way. But that's not my point. My point is, again, there's a small percentage because a lot of them are just up to no good, not really looking for help. But I've managed to find a few here and there that are looking for help, do just want an ear, and I was able to point somebody in the right direction. Somebody was having a hard time. I was convinced it was a scam, and as it turns out, he was just trying to get something from the U-Haul place down the street, and they wouldn't take cash. They'd only take it in a card, and he was trying to load money onto his card, and he just needed Wi-Fi, and CVS didn't have Wi-Fi. So I have a hotspot on my phone, so I lit up my hotspot, and I made sure that I was a little concerned because I'm like, is this a scam? No, it wasn't. The kid just needed a break, so I did. I gave him the Wi-Fi to hook up his phone, and I'd never seen a happier person. Now, immediately after that, he started trying to sell me everything he was trying to put in his U-Haul. But again, he wasn't forcing it upon me, and he was just trying to, he was trying to hustle. And I knew that. But you know what? At least I was able to find a way to help him without putting myself at risk, and I was able to treat him the way I wanted to be treated, in the way that I want to treat everybody today. And guys, you hear me talk about my business. I don't put too much out there, but I try and find the right mix without coming off as everything is I'm Joe Cool, because I'm not. I'm learning. I'm learning every day just like everybody else here. But I am applying these principles to my business, and you guys have watched my business thrive. Like I've posted about it every day since I've literally made a video every day for months before I started my business, guys, and it's amazing to me. Just before I was doing my research for my video, and another new customer called in and left me a message. My phone has a beautiful thing where it changes messages to text, and I have the option of it sending me a text so I can read the message somebody left and decide if the importance factor, because I get a lot of emergency calls, and then call back appropriately, and I will call them back later. But there's somebody's got apartments in the area, has heard the work that I'm doing, and wants to talk to me. And when I get a minute, I will. But it's amazing. Like I've always dreamed of having a legit business. I've always dreamed of taking all the things that I can do well and be able to find a way to turn them into financial gain. And guys, for once in my life, again, because that was something that I didn't even know I had as a desire. Because I was so numb for so long that when I was thinking about what are my desires, I couldn't even name them. But subconsciously it was there, and my higher power, God, has given that to me in my life because I'm trying to apply these principles in my life. And for the most part, actually I shouldn't say for the most part, to the best of my ability. I do, not perfectly. I still make mistakes. I still slip. I still very rarely find myself prejudicing myself against somebody, and more often than not that it is right. But at the first sign of me realizing that I'm doing it or realizing that I'm wrong, I immediately make amends, and I'll go the extra mile, and I'll try and help anybody I can. And these are the things that make me feel good, guys, because so many times when I was out there, I needed a hand and didn't always get it. And it might have made the difference. And I love the idea of trying to be the one to make a difference in somebody else's life today. Guys, everything I have that is good is because prayer, my higher power, meditation, taking action, and following the 12 steps and traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, as well as, bits and pieces from Smart Recovery, but it's all recovery related. There's a reason I get home every day, no matter how tired I am. I may occasionally take a nap first, like I did today, but I will take the time. I'll research my videos. I will sit there and read and digest them and see how it is applied to my life, see if it makes sense to me. So long as it does, I choose that topic. If not, I find a different topic and I do the same. And guys, confronting my life like this is making such a difference. The fact that I had a little bit of anxiety last night made me go to bed early, made me make sure I set my alarm and get right up at 6 o'clock this morning because I knew I had a busy day and I didn't want to have any excuse to not confront the things that I needed to do. And ended up being one of the best Saturdays I've had in as long as I could remember. Like a really, really good Saturday. It was one that I thought was going to be tough. When you do the right thing, guys, even your hardest days will turn into your best days. Guys, thank you so much for being here. That's the video for today. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. We'll see you in the next one.